Hello, everyone. Thank you for your attendance today, and thank you yesterday for your attendance. We think yesterday's session was a very good one. Today, we will be focusing more on the payment sides of product. We will be having the agenda for today. Of course, the introduction and talking about the agenda and moderating the session for today will be done by me and Dennis. Today we will be talking about the payments, as we mentioned. So Mr. Tariq, who's leading the payments product development team, will be discussing the payment strategy for this year. After that, we will be having a session with Afif about the payment safe, which is our messaging hub solution. After that, we will be discussing the messaging warehouse that we have, the one that you know as the TDR. Then after that, we will be having a short break. Then we will go back again with MICE. Sorry, the TDR session will be handled by MICE, as well as the duplicate detection system. Also, it will be handled by MICE. And then we will be discussing the Universal Translator, which is one of our newest solutions. Then we will be having a wrap-up for questions and answers. Of course, we will be following the same structure as yesterday, that we will be having the session for 30 minutes or 20 minutes or 1 hour, depending on the session. After that, we will be receiving your questions. So you can feel free to put in your questions at any point of time. We will handle the questions of each session by the end of the respective session. If we didn't have time, we don't want to push through further time. So we will take some notes of your questions and we will answer it later on if we didn't have time. Before handing it to Mr. Tariq, please allow me to following the shocking and sad news that we shared yesterday with you regarding the loss of our beloved colleague, Zaki, who was really helpful and a very professional that was appreciated and loved by all people who worked with. And most of you, you were dealing directly with him almost every single day. As I mentioned, it was shocking news for everybody at EastNets, and please let us all pray for him and his family. We would like to thank you also for your nice words that you shared with us after receiving the notification from our team. It's sad news and it's shocking, but this is life, and Zaki was someone who was loved by everybody at EastNets, and I believe from our partners' perspective. So now let's jump to the next session with Tariq, who will take us through the payments product strategy for this year. Tariq.
Thank you, Muhammad. Good morning and hello, everyone, and good afternoon, of course. I'm Tariq Shaheen, Director of Product Management for Payments at EastNets. And our focus today is on EastNets payments solutions. And we will be presenting to you our roadmaps and what we have in store for you and your customers in terms of enhancements on our solutions. Now, payments is a very dynamic landscape, and there are many changes happening. And those changes are the factors that make us put this strategy. So the roadmaps that we are going to present today are based on our evaluation of the market and the needs of your customers and our customers. Dalia, if you can press next, please. And another next. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And another one, please. Yeah, because I'm not getting the control. Okay, thank you. That's it. So the factors that we took into consideration when putting the roadmaps for our different solutions. The first one is the faster and instant payments. Now, in different regions and different countries, there is a major shift towards instant payments. And as such, our team has focused on the products on the instant payments in terms of supporting different schemas as well as enhancing the products to meet the requirements of instant payments. Now, of course, instant payments has a requirement for low latency and 24/7 availability. This has been built into the solutions now, maximizing high availability and increasing the performance to meet the requirements of instant payments. On the less demanding requirement for payment is also the faster payment schemas, and of particular importance this year is the Swift Go. Last year, Swift was pushing for many organizations to join, so now we have a high number of banks worldwide joining the Swift Go initiative, and this year Swift is pushing them to start rolling out the service. Swift Go is the faster payments solutions for low value transfers worldwide. Now, with this, we have a ready solution as well for Swift Go, and this year is an important year for you and for us to get our customers to be up and running on using Swift Go. The second dimension that we focused on and helped us build the roadmaps is the standardization, and particularly the ISO 20022 standard. Now, this standard is gaining momentum worldwide. Newer systems are being built using ISO 20022, and existing ones are migrating to the standard. Now, the major initiative in this is the Swift CBPR Plus. We are offering full support to this in our solutions. You will see it in our roadmaps. This has been rolled out to last year, and we have many customers using it. But the important point is that to make it easy for customers to continue building on this, we provide them with the annual changes. Those are big changes because the CBPR Plus is new and it's changing all the time. So we're helping the customers by providing the required updates all the time. The third dimension that we took into consideration when aligning or when building our roadmap is having an open platform that incorporates different payment networks. You know, some of our solutions are still focused on Swift only, particularly the messaging warehouse and the duplicate detection. But now on the roadmap, you will see that we are moving to having a comprehensive platform where we can have payment messages stored from any payment network. We can even import messages from any application within a financial organization. This applies to duplicate detection as well, where we are also moving beyond Swift. Of course, the foundation for openness to other sources of financial messages is the API. You will see API supported in all of our solutions. Now, the fourth line or dimension that shaped our roadmap is intelligence. You know, we have financial messages, payment messages passing through our solutions, being sometimes for some customers, they are stored by our solutions. With this, And with the open platform dimension that we've just talked about, where we can incorporate messages beyond the SWIFT network, customers are looking for making use of this data and those messages that they store. And this is why we have many initiatives coming. One of them is the intelligent routing, where we will help the customers by analyzing the payments traffic and choosing the best route for payments based on different factors such as cost, time, and so on. Now, with the data stored also, we will be able to build on the existing dashboards and provide a more advanced form of dashboards, the predictive dashboards that would analyze the future and provide future trends. Other factors we will be providing, or other elements we will be where we will be providing intelligence, are the correspondent relationship analysis and enhancing the duplicate detection using NLP. More on those later as we go through our roadmap presentations. And the final dimension is enhancing the productivity. The feedback we get from our partners and our customers is that they want to do more tasks themselves. They want to be able to customize the workflows, the payment messages mappings. They want to build some definitions themselves. They want to generate reports, build and generate reports themselves. And we are making this easy through some tools that you will learn about today, including the Payment Safe Designer and the Universal Mapper, which is a totally new solution. And finally, on the productivity list is definitely the general trend in the industry of moving to cloud implementations, whether it's the private cloud, public cloud implementations. We are enabling this to our customers. We have many customers who are already using our solutions on cloud, but we are enhancing this even further by making deployment more aligned with certain cloud requirements, particularly containers. This is something that you will see on our roadmap as well. So those are the different dimensions that we considered when putting our roadmaps. And next in today's session, we will be going through our roadmaps to present to you more details about how do we map this strategy to different product features. Thank you again for joining us, and looking forward to more interaction as we go throughout the day.
Thank you, Tariq, for this informative introduction on our payment strategy for this year. So now we will be going through the roadmap for the Payment Safe, which is, as I mentioned yesterday, one of our main focuses for this year, alongside our products, of course. But for our Payment Safe, again, since we believe that it has a full integration with all our solutions, it can be a very good selling point for our partners for the coming year. So now we will be starting the session with Afif. So Afif, it's all yours now.
Yeah, thank you, Mohammed, and thank you, Tariq, for this informative introduction about our payment solution, EastNet. I will start first with the agenda. These agendas will be used for all payments products, Payment Safe, Messaging Warehouse, and duplicate detection. First of all, we'll start with Payment Safe and what exactly, for those that don't know Payment Safe. Actually, Payment Safe is our payments hub where all message used for processed with all core banking systems or trade finance or any banking solution in the bank can be easily integrated with this platform, and also be used with different transmission channels that used for exchange messages. All type of these messages using different connectors are also supported with Payment Safe. This platform actually is provide a universal or unique interface where the operation team and all teams in the bank can have, let's say, a one single interface where they can have generating reports, know exactly the statuses of the transactions, and definitely extracting data easily from the platform. As you know, the platform, as clear from the diagram, is built with the architecture and concept of multiple payments network. So the bank can host, let's say, cross-border networks, if it is a SWIFT or any other initiatives like what we have with Ripple or other networks. Also, at the same time, for domestic, especially with that domestic networks become now have high demands to implement in banks for RTGS and ACH, and especially with instant payments. And we will see this sooner. Most of the regions now trying to have this kind of service for instant payments and as a service up and running, and we are supporting this implementation. And you will see on our roadmap that is the main focus for this year is to support and comply with the most complex scenarios and the new trends that come with instant payments. The platform actually is can be implemented with active deployment. So to ensure the business continuity that for the service provided by our solution. So banks they have more than one active product nodes to be used for deployment. Definitely also we achieved this last year, a cloud native support where you can deploy the product not only in our service bureau as EastNets or data center, but become now available to be deployed in public cloud service provider like what we have AWS or Oracle or Azure. It's fully supported there with the containerized support with full features that are provided by cloud as a scale up, scale down for the services. As you know, it's very important also to have an ISO within the platform, ISO 20022 support. And as you know, since 5 years, we are native ISO solution, which will allow banks to deal with ISO messages similar like what they have for MTs. If they would like to have MT ISO implementation and workflow for these type of messages. In addition to other non-native message standards also supported by Payment Safe. And as you know, it's very important to integrate with other solutions, especially when we talk about sanction screening solution, anti-fraud, and data repository. And mainly with our products as EastNets Messaging Warehouse, SafeWatch Filtering, and Payment Guard, we have a seamless integration with all these products to be considered as part of the message processing, if it is for outgoing and incoming transactions. So the bank will have a better risk control by having applying all the controls and models that require to be and validations required to be applied on the transactions before continue the processing within the Payment Safe. So as mentioned by Mohammed at the beginning, This is one of the good selling point for Payment Safe when banks they are looking for a comprehensive solution, fully integrated with all other systems. They have it for different purposes. Definitely, this integration and adaptive of other solutions is not limited to Eastnet's product, but if the banks they have their own systems that they have integration capabilities, we can have this integration to include these solution and validation services provided by this solution as part of the message workflow within Payment Safe. And definitely, since we are dealing with payments, it's very important to ensure the security and to secure the operations for payments within Payment Safe. So we have multiple controls which ensure the message, secure the message processing as part of the front end and accessing for the application, as part of the login, as part of workflows, all these kind of controls, in addition to ensure and secure also the back end as a database by having to secure the data there. No tampering process will be available for users. And if it has happened, let's say, their system will identify these transactions, notify the administrator, and stop processing these transactions as part of the normal workflow we have it for payments. So our target actually, as clear from Payment Safe, it's unify the dealing of the transaction by having single interface for domestic and international payments, and at the same time provide the capabilities and the tools required to have the maximum STP rate for processing incoming and outgoing transactions within the institution, which by the end of the day will enhance the quality of service that to provide by the bank to their customers. This is externally, and internally will reduce the cost of execution the transactions within the bank, which means increase the profit they have it from payment transfer. So this is the main, let's say, value propositions we have it within Payment Safe. For banks, they have Payment Safe as a summary, accelerate cost reduction. So with having the maximum automations for transactions, and at the same time automate whatever we have as manual, let's say, process as part of the modification or corrections to be done with enrichment rules instead of doing it manually in using other solutions. And by having this features within Payment Safe, definitely a better risk control will be having on the payment processing, on all transactions, especially payments, as part of implementation with Payment Safe. And in addition to this, also with Security Advisor module, we have it. The bank will have a clear gaps of any security controls that need to be implemented with Payment Safe to ensure that they have the highest security implementation with our product internally or with externally when we talk about the integration, especially with the SWIFT infrastructure or with core banking system or middlewares or any other banking solution. And we ensure all the time we have the flexibility and the scalability for Payment Safe implementation and to deployment with minimal, let's say, impact if the customer they have up and running deployments, or for the new features how can be developed with zero code, let's say, most of the time, or with configurations if necessary, and to provide these tools that will help them within Payment Safe to do this configuration with minimum requirements to a technical background even to implement the new requirements. And definitely, all the banks, they are looking for centralization by having single interface for all payments networks they have it in the bank. If they have multiple branches with different geographical regions, they can also centralize this operation for all BICs, and definitely the system will ensure message segregations per region or per team with the profiles and access right they have it with Payment Safe. These major values make big differentiator with our offering for Payment Safe. And I would like also to share with you what currently most of the banks and financial institutions, they are looking with having a payment hub as part of their payment infrastructure within the bank. The trends now to ensure that whatever solution, even if they are not have currently the infrastructure or the decision to take it, but it's part of their long-term strategy to have all these setups can be deployed with cloud implementation, public cloud implementation. This is the trends even for core banking systems. So the same we ensure with Payment Safe, it's fully supported for cloud implementation. Definitely also because different initiatives they have, we have it now globally for ISO, so they ensure they have a native ISO platform that support all these implementation and guidelines for ISO, if it is SWIFT with as part of the CPPR Plus, or for domestic for different initiatives coming from the local regulators as part of RTGS, ACH, or instant payments, and other initiatives as e-check or let's say new trends now become as part of the request to pay and QR payments or mobile payments. All these with ISO, it's become now even with Payment Safe is supported. Definitely the Swift GBI services and Swift Go, as mentioned earlier by Tariq at the beginning, we are because the demands in the market now with all these initiatives, we are also trying to make all these services for GBI, even if it's optional, to be available our roadmap and in our products. So last year we completed the Swift Go successfully, and we have live customers now using Payment Safe for implementing the Swift Go, in addition to the Swift GBI, the standard one, and we are working to the other services to be adapted with the related infrastructure used with implementation, especially when we talk about API communication with the Swift infrastructure rather than the messaging, standard messaging we use it to communicate with the Swift systems. As part of the 2022 roadmap, which we completed successfully for the major of the planned features, we use it with Payment Safe. So we successfully complete, let's say, sorry, if you come back, Dalia, to the previous slide. If my mistake, it's double click. Dalia. Okay, previous slides, please, not this one. Yeah, we complete successfully, as you know, the CPPR Plus translation library, ISO 20 and MT ISO implementations. This library, we already now more than 40 banks, they are using it, and start implementation. Our team start implementation for this library, taking consideration the special requirements needed by each bank. This is taken in consideration while as part of the assumptions that we did while we are designing our translation library. And we are expecting also this library to be available or to be as one of the hot topics that you will use it with your clients and partners to make the banks comply with ISO initiatives from SWIFT for cross-border. And we need to take into consideration also the translation services. Now we have wider services that can enable the bank to do the translations in addition to what we are offering now as part of the development. We will talk it deeper later in the coming points and the coming slides when we talk about the translation. As we also discussed before, previously we offer the SWIFT GBI as part of the MT implementation to communicate, to implement the payments with the GBI tracker and the confirmation with GBI tracker. We successfully also complete the GBI core with ISO 20022 standard implementation. We are expecting this also by next year to be the hot topic for the implementation, and also to replace and to be used for upgrade the existing GBI implementation. We have it with many customers for GBI. As you know, we have more than 50 SWIFT GBI implementations. We do it over last 2 years. And we are expecting the coming also implementations will be with this package to be used. As we mentioned previously, also we complete successfully the SWIFT GBI optional service with the SWIFT Go. And as you know, SWIFT are pushing banks to adapt this SWIFT Go because they are trying to provide better SLA for execution the transactions within 4 hours. And this is what we are trying also to ensure with our SWIFT Go implementations with banks and the SWIFT. Also, we have the SWIFT Payment Safe Designer. Payment Safe Designer actually, it's a new offering from Eastnet, and it's part of our low code or no code offering to banks, so they can design and configure new user interfaces. They can define their new message types required for integration, define a new APIs to be exposed or consume other APIs to be used from other banking solution, in addition to the mapping designer, which enable the bank with minimum technical background to do a translation from any message type to any message type by having a drag and drop techniques. And we have a very good predefined functions that allowed the banker, or let's say the bank, to define the mapping rules without having the need to develop or writing a codes. Definitely, we allow users to write codes as part of the designer if they have a good experience of coding. This option is still valid. And as we mentioned previously, one of the ready offering we have it now is the cloud native implementation with public cloud service providers like AWS, Azure, Oracle, and others. So with the full support for the majority of services and features provided by this public cloud service providers. And we believe this will be the coming trend, everything in the cloud. Banks also, as part of their strategy, the majority of them, they have this one of the milestones to gain benefits from the public cloud services. They have it, cutting the cost if they have specifications, let's say, for high systems or hardware to be used. Definitely, as you know, we are trying as part of our roadmap and strategy, we have it for all EastNet products, to have AI functionality and empower our products with more of AI functions, which help the banks to enhance first the service, and in addition to this, trying to reduce the cost by selecting, let's say, best routing or corridors to deliver transactions, which is providing to me, let's say, what we call it, low fees to transfer. So actually, we built a unique service which called intelligent routing or intelligent routing. This intelligent routing, based on the GPI data, will ensure that transactions can be transferred based on criteria defined by the bank. So if, let's say, bank looking based on customer classification to transfer payments regardless of the cost of the fees, by ensuring the fastest corridors to be used, or use the standard corridors, whereas the minimum charges will be used. These functionalities with AI, intelligent routing is now available with Payment Safe. We complete our MVP, and the service will be completed soon and will be ready to our customers. This intelligent routing is relying on GPI data, which will enable the bank to first evaluate their correspondent banking that they are using for each currency with the SWIFT network for cross-border payments. And secondly, it will visualize the corridors used for transferring payments for any currencies. And by this, they can actually know the hidden hidden correspondence. They are used, non-direct correspondent, they are used to transfer payments, which will help mainly the treasury team as part of the evaluation they have to for their correspondent, which active correspondent they need to keep, which agreements need to be dropped, and if they're looking to build a new agreements with these correspondents that can help the bank to provide faster payments for their correspondent bank, for their cross-border payments, and definitely this helps them to avoid any redundant correspondent services that they already used in their existing bilateral agreements, and try to go with these active correspondent banking that help them with the service, with providing cross-border transfer payments with minimum cost and faster corridors to deliver transaction to the beneficiary bank. I believe this is a huge service. We can take it in separate sessions for the intelligent routing using AI capabilities within Payment Safe. For Payment Safe strategy here, as we mentioned at the beginning, we have a strategy in EastNet to have a Payment Safe where it will be as an orchestrator layer fully integrated with all EastNet solution, where can be seamlessly do whatever needed as part of the message workflow with EastNet solution, or to provide and expose an APIs for EastNet solution to share, let's say, information related to the transactions, to the statuses, to any information that's required to be exposed from Payment Safe to other solutions. In addition to this, also to gain benefits from message translation and conversion. So these all capabilities can be centralized within our layer as payment safe, and all other solutions, the Eastern solution will gain benefits from these functions we have it. And definitely, as you see from the previous slides, as we have a seamless integrations with all of, or the majority of all Eastern's solution currently we have. Definitely, we are now doing research for providing additional cross-border payments platforms that banks, they are looking to have it as part of their infrastructure to transfer for payments. So currently we are working for evaluating MasterCard, HomeSend, or Visa Direct to see how, if it is give value for banks by enabling and having the connectors for these platforms as part of payment safe, and do a transfer with minimal, let's say, efforts from banks to adapt these new networks. And definitely, as you know, open banking payments platforms, also we are doing research for having support in the coming years, and consider them as part of the roadmap for payment safe. And as you know, in addition to what we have as AI function, as intelligent routing, we are also trying to empower payment safe with additional AI functions that we believe with our partners and also with the banks, they are very close work to us to evaluate all functions that can be used to fully automated with AI functions and to provide different new service and or better service quality, and enhance and improve the operation activities they have it in the bank. All these we're working with our AI team in EastNets to evaluate and introduce these functions and see how we can introduce it to our clients to evaluate, and any suggestions for any AI functions to be used with payment safe from our partners are welcomed to work together, evaluate, and see how we can adapt it within our platform. Definitely now, as you see, most of central banks now, they are trying to design and to provide their own central bank digital currencies. And as payment safe, as an enabler, we will provide all the connectors for banks to comply with these initiatives from central bank. As we described before, for payment safe designer, we are also trying to add a new designer within this platform as a low value or low code or no code offering. We try to provide the payment safe workflow designer. So instead of building rules by defining from scratch rules and conditions, it will be graphically used by drag and drop, define the conditions. So it will be clear from the diagrams what exactly the flows per each transactions and what is the conditions used and how it will impact the message. So it will be easier for non-technical people to design their workflows for specific messages, for specific channels or systems. They use it for with integration with payment safe. And definitely cross-platform support. We are working now to move most of the functionalities to have to be a Linux. As you know, currently we only support only Windows and Microsoft as SQL database. So we are trying to move to the Linux environment gradually. Some of the features now we are working on it. We completed successfully, but still we have a huge work to do to complete the migration to Linux. And there will be the next step will be migration to also Oracle database with technology in the future of payment safe roadmap. You will see some of these in the coming years. You will see gradually some, these features will be clear as part of payment safe roadmap, the future ones. Now, what we have as a top product value propositions today for payment safe, and we can go directly with banks and discuss it. As we mentioned before, the ISO 20022 enablers, if we are talking about CBPR Plus or any other initiatives related to ISO, our payment safe is ready for this. Instant payments enabler, as you know, now most of the banks, they are introducing this service as part of their local or even global initiatives for instant payments. Payment safe will help banks to easily adapt these instant payments networks and within payment safe, so for sending and receiving and complete the workflow with core banking system or mobile channels for initiating and do posting and confirmation transactions. AI solutions and functions, mainly we're talking here about intelligent routing. This is also one of the unique and differentiators in our offering for payment safe. With that will help the banks to provide a unique service and reduce the cost for doing transfer and also enhance the service they have it with their correspondent bank. Now, for payment safe roadmap this year, you will see that we are focusing on three things. First of all, the instant payments implementation. Now we are working with many banks in UAE for huge project with most modern system to be used for implementing instant payments in the region. And this is what will be the focus for phase one. The second topic, we will work on it in Q2 for features. As you know, SWIFT are introducing more, let's say, messages, and the scope of the ISO messages will be bigger by coming years for CBPR Plus. So we will work to do enhancements for the existing rules and adding more messages for to be available for the translations as part of the CBPR Plus library and as defined definitely by SWIFT guidelines for CBPR Plus. These functions will be the main focus for 2023. Now in 2023, the second half, we will focus in the Q3 in the major of let's say regulation requirements needed as part of the annual support we provide to our customers, which is mainly first is the SWIFT syntax package for the MT messages, and the second one in Q3 will be the SEPA schema upgrades. As you know, since all the schemas are upgraded to the latest one, which is the 2019 used by the major of the regulators. ECP also in Europe, they decide to upgrade, and this, since we have many banks in Europe, they are using SEPA, so we are doing this major change and upgrade for them so they can still comply with the new schema and rule book they have it for SEPA. In Q4, we are going to again back to direct debit implementation with central bank, including request to pay, including QR payments, including e-mandates with latest ISO standard for implementation with central banks. This will be the focus in Q4, in addition to, as we discussed, or as we see from the previous slides, we try to empower Payment Safe with more functionalities, capabilities provided by the clouds, public cloud implementations to be available also as part of Payment Safe for these banks. They are looking for purely native cloud implementation for Payment Safe. This will be the Payment Safe 2023 roadmap. Now, as you see, with the competitive analysis, let's say, with our competitors, as you know, we are trying every year to list whatever we have as part of our roadmap and research, and try to compare it with the major player in the market, competitor in the market, to see and evaluate the gaps that we have it and how we are far from, let's say, our research, our offering we have it, and try to make it available and try to plan it well as part of our exercise we have it for Payment Safe roadmap. So by this exercise, we can, let's say, if you can look to the table here, you will see that open banking, let's say, it's one of the gaps we have it on our offering, and this is what we will try to consider in the coming roadmaps. When we talk about, let's say, cloud offering, we are on the same with our competitors. For ISO, it is also the majority. Even if the majority they have it, but we need to comply with it. For instant payment is the same, and AI also. We are, I believe, with our roadmap for AI functions, we will have even more differentiators rather than other competitors with more functions, AI functions that help banks to have optimization for processing, operation activities, and for the service that they provided for their clients. Thank you for all. If you have any questions before we proceed with messaging warehouse, I'm available for it.
Thank you, Afif, for this comprehensive and a bit detailed presentation on our roadmap and our achievements last year for the Payment Safe. We have a couple of questions, not much questions, but a couple of them. The question is it possible to integrate the CBPR Plus translation library with the core banking system? Is it possible to customize this library as well?
Okay. Now, to have integrations with core banking system for specific functions like the translation, yeah, these functions are applicable in different models. If the bank they are looking for, and they have already Payment Safe, we can expose an API for doing the translation. Another model we have it, we can have only a small components from Payment Safe without having the needs to have a full deployment can be used to provide CBPR translation and fully integrated with core banking system or middleware. These functions will be available only for banks that would like to deploy our components in Windows or Linux if they are looking for small tools from Payment Safe to be used as translator. Definitely, one of the main, let's say, achievements in our library is to be customizable. So it's easy to be customized and deployed. As we know, each bank have their special translation or needs for the translation, so we can handle this managed by our team to provide customized library for each bank.
Thank you. We have, it's not a question, it's a message from Bay. Dave, you can send me this in an email because it's something that's related to support. So we can take it offline with you. I have another question. Which Swift GPI services does EastNet?
Currently, we are providing the core GPI services, which include credit transfer, or known as GCCT, and also the GCOV, which is related to the cover payment, and the stop and recall functionality, which is part of the GPI case. These are the main core functions, in addition to the Swift GPI, Swift Go initiatives. These are the four services are supported by PaymentSafe as MT and ISO, and we are looking in the future to adapt also more GPI services as part of our strategy for PaymentSafe.
So speaking, GPI initiatives, in general, we try to align our work based on feedback we get from customers. So we welcome feedback from you on any particular GPI initiative that you might find that your customers are looking for. If you share that feedback with us, we are happy to discuss and see how can we incorporate into our future work.
Thank you, Tarek. So to rephrase what you mentioned to our partners, now each country has its own, I would say, messaging structure or local messaging structure. So if our partners will be able to share with us what are the needs within each country, we can have it. We can have a discussion on that. We had an experience in Thailand, and we went live with one of the big banks in Thailand. So now, for example, we know what is the messaging structure in Thailand, so we will be able to have easier penetration for the market. So for other countries, each country has its own characteristics, but at the end, the structure is almost the same, just some tweaking here and there. So we can work together in targeting all the banks. So this is the benefit of this. When we are talking about fast payments, instant payments, or local RTGS, you will find that all banks will need it in a short time. So we will be one of the first companies to go to this market with the help of our partners, of course, who understands the market better, especially that most of our partners are Swift certified partners. So it will give us an advantage with your help. There's a question from Sunny. Would like to know how EastNet is supporting the local RTGS in APAC, like in SG, the local payment system MEPS Plus. Is there a library tailored for SG? I think Afif can answer, or should I answer? Yeah.
No, for MEPS, I believe this is in Singapore or in India. In Singapore, I believe, because I read this and it is Central Bank of Singapore already work on defining the guidelines, we mean it here, as a regulator for the implementing ISO for the local infrastructure they have it there. How we can help them help the banks, the commercial banks, is by providing the capabilities to comply with these guidelines for ISO implementations without having the needs to impact the core banking system or the systems used for payment initiation. And also providing the connectors required for exchanging the payments, ISO payments with the infrastructures, the payment infrastructures used with central bank, with fully comply with the security requirements for implementation. Especially now it's become a trend with central banks. They are using their own local networks for exchanging transactions out of Swift, and they are using Swift as a backup for transfer payment using File Act or Interact services. So how we can help them by providing the implementation for these guidelines provided from central bank, providing the connectors and security procedures, and also the workflows required, let's say, for all the, options to exchange payments and access the infrastructure in the central bank.
Thank you. This is a question from my side. For these requirements, let's talk about MAPS Plus or any other similar requirements from central banks. So it's a requirement that is shared with banks from central bank directly, correct?
Yes.
So if our partners were able to put their hands on these requirements, it will be helpful for us to understand how the requirements are there and to know how we can build these libraries, of course. So Sunny, answering your questions, and because you mentioned other countries as well. So and also for our other esteemed partners in the call. Whenever you have, since you have connections in banks and you mainly have connections in the operations teams within banks and SWIFT teams in banks. So if we can put our hands on these requirements for the local RTGS for each country, like in Singapore, if we can get the MAPS Plus requirements that was shared with the banks in Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Japan, Hong Kong, anywhere. So we can get these requirements, and we can determine from there how our libraries will look like going forward. One last question that I have for you, Afif, is that what is the logic used for building the intelligent routing or routing?
Yeah, a good question. Actually, as you know, as part of the GBI implementations for banks, there is a huge number of confirmations received from SWIFT GBI tracker. This information is related to how the message moved from one bank to another bank. Even if this bank is not my direct correspondent, but I will have a clear status how it has been executed, and regarding the time, regarding the fees. These informations actually that we have it as part of the payment safe repository. We try to make it more value for banks, not only for tracking. Most of the banks now, they are using it for just the tracker payments, but we make additional values from this for banks by let them evaluate their correspondence, current or existing correspondent bank. So to know, or let's say not know, but predict actually for these SWIFT transactions, how is expected to be delivered as a matter of time, and how it will be cost or usually cost the banks, if it will be high or low, and accordingly they can be used to as part of the message or the operation decision to use it within the message based on the message amount or the customer classifications. These criteria of let's say which one to be used, the faster or the cheaper, we can expose it to other solutions from Payment Safe as an APIs with all the information. The route can be used as, or with this correspondent can be used as faster, or the other one can be used as a cheaper. In addition to this, as we mentioned, the evaluation by visualize this information and help them to identify and graphically evaluate their correspondent. I just wanted to highlight, I complete just if any question related to this question, I'm available to answer, but I need to highlight something related to the point you highlighted, Mohammed, that if our partners share with us at earlier stage the guidelines that published by central bank with having our now low code or no code offering as payment safe designer, we can prepare together earlier, let's say, implementation or packages within payment safe to our partner to use it with banks in this specific country. And this is will let our partner in early stage ready to market to provide solutions to the banks. And this is will be a plus for our partners when they go with pre-sales or when they want to go to sit with banks discussing the implementation. They will have the full details, and we will make sure as ESNES to do this knowledge transfer from our teams to the bank to our partners so they can easily go with banks.
Okay. Thank you so much. So we will make sure that this message is well communicated with our partners. So we will take it offline when we will be discussing again the details on payment safe with them. Thank you so much, Afif. Thank you, Tariq, for this informative session. And since we don't have any other questions, I think we are ahead of time. So we can Tumais and talk about the strategy and the roadmap for our messaging warehouse, which is known as the TDR.
Yes, thank you, Muhammad, and thank you everyone for joining. It is so nice to be talking to you and presenting the roadmap to you. So I would like to start first with our EastNet's messaging warehouse. And the first item that I would like to start with is an overview on the functionalities that are considered main selling points and main benefits to our customers. And the first functionality that we see is of most important is that you can basically, using messaging warehouse, from its name you can archive any kind of data you want, whether it is data copied in real time through the connection to Alliance access, or it is data that is copied in the past and is historical that you can access at any time, at any point you want. And on top of the data that we store in our warehouse, we have many functionalities that the customers can benefit from, such as extraction of the data, generation of reports and dashboards. And these functionalities are very elastic and flexible when it comes to filtering which data you want to extract, selecting which data you want to include in your reports and dashboards, and also selecting the format of the report or dashboard that you want to extract. This is very beneficial for customers for their regulatory compliance requirements, for their central banks requirements, and for their own operations even, such as end-of-day reports that they need to study, for example, or the past quarter or the past even 10 or 15 years of data that they want to analyze easily using a single warehouse where they can use the or see the data in a single format from every single source they connect to. And another functionality of messaging warehouse is how we can track and monitor the data using real-time notifications. And this is very beneficial for customers. For example, if they want to track a single payment whenever they receive it from a single country, a certain country with an amount, for example, of $1 million US, this is something possible that we can have through messaging warehouse. The benefits of this is that it can gives the customers the ability to focus at certain transactions that they receive, give them attention, and at the same time distribute the processing and the work between the different workers they have at the financial institution. And finally, we act also in the messaging warehouse as a gateway where, as you know, we store data from different sources, we parse it, we understand it, we prepare it for our customers, and then we provide on top of this data an API. And this is very beneficial for our customers because it can be used either externally or internally within the financial institution. And example on how it can be used externally is that most of our customers use this API in order to connect the information we store in our messaging warehouse to their online banking so that they can enhance their customers or their account holders experience through their applications. And internally, we've seen customers who use it in order to connect it to their own applications that are used internally within the bank. And this is very beneficial because we store many sources of data. We give them the same connectivity, and they need to only write the same code in order to connect to all of the data that we store in messaging warehouse. So moving on to the product value proposition of messaging warehouse, and I will be starting with the proposition that we have previously before 2023, and I will be quickly listing the items that are of value that we will be discussing furthermore in the roadmap that we will be presenting to you today. The first value proposition is that we are the only listed vendor that provides a messaging warehouse to track and monitor transactions coming from Alliance Access in real time. We are certified and we are listed there on Swift website. This gives our customers and the financial institutions that we deal with or talk to confidence in messaging warehouse, because they know that we comply with all of the requirements that Swift ask them to apply, and that also we comply with all of the security standards that Swift ask financial institutions to follow. The next differentiator is that we see that there is a difficulty without messaging warehouse for financial institutions to access their live data, and at the same time their archive data from the same user interface. The main benefit of messaging warehouse is that you can archive for as long as you want all of your transactions, historical transactions, and at the same time, customers can access their live messages. This is very important for them, either in their reporting or their different requirements, business requirements, or in their investigations for the different teams who have access to messaging warehouse. And next is the monitoring capabilities that we have, and this is using the module that we call Watchdog. As I mentioned, we monitor the transactions in real time so that we can notify the users, whether they are internal users, meaning workers at the financial institution who need to pay attention for certain transactions, or they are external users such as the account holders of a financial institution. They can be notified that a certain transaction has been received to the bank, for example, and it will be processed and given to this customer. And most importantly is that we provide what we call business intelligence and data analytics. And the benefits of the business intelligence that we provide are basically endless. We see that our customers and most customers benefit from these analytics by analyzing their historical data, analyzing their market, analyzing their relationships, their transactions, their business focus, and all of these information related to the transactions stored in the database, which helps them make decisions, which helps them understand their business and make better future expectations on the data that they have stored in messaging warehouse. And one very strong feature that we have at Messaging Warehouse is what we call Analytics Designer. And this is where the customer can basically access the UI of Messaging Warehouse, access the module that we call Analytics. They can design any kind of report or dashboard they want in a very user-friendly way using just simple drag and drop of the fields they want to include their values in their reports and dashboards, and in a very simple way, they can just have a whole report or dashboard that it is of their own design. And one advantage of this is that they don't need any IT help from their side. Business users can basically enter the UI and do whatever they want in a very user-friendly way. This is one of the strength points of Messaging Warehouse. And the next value proposition is that Messaging Warehouse is used for read-only access. And this is very strong and very beneficial to enhance the security of a financial institution, because Swift and especially the customer security program from Swift highly recommends that financial institutions do not provide users who need only to read transactions and access to an environment such as Alliance access, so that they can't modify or change the workflow of these transactions. Whenever we give these read-only users an access to these sensitive environments, we increase the possibility of having breaches, and we increase the risk of being attacked. And this is one of the biggest value proposition of Messaging Warehouse, is that it is only to read messages. So every single user who doesn't need to modify, they can access Messaging Warehouse and save themselves from the risk of having security breaches. And one of the features that we've added also on top of Messaging Warehouse, and this is to respect the privacy of the customers, of our customers, so the account holders, for example, we have added what we call masking of data. And this is to comply with what we call the right to be forgotten, where when a customer of a financial institution closes their account with this financial institution, they have the right for to be forgotten, meaning they have the right that all of their data, all of their information is completely erased from all of the data sources that the financial institution has, and we apply that in Messaging Warehouse also. Now, exciting news about the roadmap of next year for Messaging Warehouse is that we will expand the capabilities of Messaging Warehouse, expand the data that we store in there, increase the number of connections that we store, and also expand the functionalities using artificial intelligence and machine learning analytics, and expanding the visualization of the data that we store. So these are the three main value proposition items that we will be discussing in the roadmap of 2023. Now, what did we do in 2022? 2022 was a very important year for Messaging Warehouse because we have expanded its functionalities to include ISO 20022, whether CBPR Plus or general RTGS that comes from Alliance Access. We have increased all of the functionalities that were available previously for ISO 20022 or MX messages by giving the user a very similar experience to the MT messages that they are used to working with. The benefits of this is that when you have a similar experience to the MT messages using ISO 20022 messages, you will make it easier for financial institutions to migrate to ISO 20022 and to understand these messages. And one of the biggest features that we have added is that we are now complying with what we call the multi-format messages or the hybrid messages. And these are ISO 20022 messages that are translated into MT format. So the text of the message contains both formats, the MX and the MT. We have complied with that, and we have enabled the user to be able to view and report and basically export and do all of these functionalities on the original translated MT message inside the ISO 20022. Other functionalities that we've added is that basically all of the modules that we have in Messaging Warehouse, whether it is reporting, archiving, restoring, APIs, etc., these are now supporting ISO 20022 in the same way they used to support empty messages. Other functionalities that we've added is that we have enhanced the performance of our application. And this is, of course, to comply with the business requirements that Afif and Tariq mentioned, is that we have instant payments now. We have an expectation to receive and send higher volumes of transactions throughout the coming years. So we needed to make sure that our messaging warehouse complies with all of these standards that are coming in our way. And of course, we have increased some the user experience through the user interface of our messaging warehouse. So now, moving on from what we did in 2022 to what we plan to do in 2023, and I will start with the product strategy of Messaging Warehouse. Messaging Warehouse this year has a very exciting strategy where we will be expanding Messaging Warehouse to basically store any kind of financial related data. And when I say financial related data, I include data coming from different sources, coming from different networks, of different formats, of different nature, so that our financial institutions, our customers, can have a centralized database storing all of their data in the same format, in the same way, that they can read and access and unify all of their users, the process of all of their users who want to access the different data coming from different sources. And the next item is that we even want to enhance our performance more. Speaking that we want to be a centralized database for all financial related data means that we need to have higher performance on all of the functionalities of Messaging Warehouse. And this is one of our toppest priorities to take into consideration. The next item is that we have an exciting change on the way we connect to other applications, which has many benefits for us. We want to build what we call a dynamic API, and this API is very flexible. It can integrate to any kind of source a financial institution has. It can read any kind of format of data and store it into Messaging Warehouse regardless of the format. So when we are able to release this dynamic API, we are able to basically connect to everything, store everything, and provide the user with this, with the access to what we stored. The benefits of this API are going to have two sides of it. The first side of this API is that basically you are moving towards having a centralized database for all users, for all different sources of a financial institution. And having Messaging Warehouse as a centralized database will unify how the financial institution works in its different departments, because we will be having all data access in a single user interface, which will be much easier for financial institutions. And the second advantage of this API is that it will expand our analytics and our functionalities that we provide in the future. It will expand our capabilities, whether inside EastNets itself or outside EastNets, so that customers can use, again, the same code, the same way of connecting to different data sources, different data networks using Messaging Warehouse APIs. And finally, and as we do on a yearly basis, we try as much as possible to increase the customizability of our product, to increase the functionalities that we provide there, and you will be able to see that when we start discussing the roadmap. Now, in messaging warehouse, we have a very important strategy related to artificial intelligence, where we next year or this year in 2023, we plan to be releasing AI-related features so that we make our messaging warehouse smarter and more useful for our customers. The first thing that we plan to do is what we call pattern recognition. As you know, we are storing historical data of financial institutions, and these data are very beneficial, and it is very important to make use of these data in order to understand the history of a financial institution. And to give you an example on that is that I, as a financial institution, I want to understand how did I improve all over the past years. I want to understand how is my traffic changing, how is my business focus changing from payments to trade to the other business criterias or categories that we have. So we will be able to provide this to our customers next year. And now, after we recognize the patterns of the historical data we have, we want to take it to the next level, where we will be using machine learning to even forecast or predict the future data of financial institutions. So now that I understand the historical data of our customers, and I understand how they improved and how they changed throughout the past year on all of their historical data, I can take predictions, or I can forecast how will they be changing in the future. So for example, on this, I can forecast what will be the traffic of next year for the customer per, for example, BIC, or per correspondent, or per even message category or message business. So this is what we plan to do in 2023. Now, we would like also to increase the visualization of the data we store. We store many data, and we need to provide more visualization to enhance the understanding of the data that we store. And one of the things that we plan to do is apply link analysis next year, so that this year, so that we can locate any kind of relationship between the correspondence that the financial institution is dealing with, and even the correspondence of correspondence. And we will be able to highlight the strength of this relationship, how many past interactions happened there. This is going to be very beneficial because it will highlight the new investments that the financial institution needs to do, or the new relationships they need to establish in order to benefit their own customers. Now, moving on to the actual features of the roadmap, and the top 3 features we think are of importance to our customers are, first, what we call the multi-network support and the dynamic API, where, as I discussed, we will be opening messaging warehouse to different sources and to any kind of format of data. The next item is the predictive AI dashboards that we will provide, where we will be helping our customers make decisions by predicting their future. This feature will be part of our analytics module that we already have for business intelligence, dashboards, and reports. So it will give strength even on the value proposition that we provide for our dashboards. And the third most important item is the correspondent relationship analysis, where we are going to visualize correspondence relationships. So the roadmap of 2023, in Q1, we will be working on the multi-network. The multi-network support will come in phases. First, in the first phase, or in the most basic standard phase, we will provide the basic functionalities as a warehouse, which is connect to any kind of source, store any kind of format of data, and provide the user the ability to access this data through the user interface. And in Q2, we will be doing a feature that will enhance the security of our warehouse, since we are connecting to many data sources, and these data that we are storing are very sensitive. We want to make sure that our customers are secured by detecting any kind of integrity violation that happens on the database. And next item is that we want to enhance our core component that we call loader even more, so that it supports the high traffic, the huge traffic that we are expecting. Our goal is to enhance its performance at least 10 times higher than the performance we currently have. This will be using very advanced technologies and very trending technologies. And the better the infrastructure that the customer has, the higher performance they will receive. Next is that we will work on updating our technology overall regarding the operating systems, databases, and all of these technologies. However, one important thing that we will be doing at this feature is what we call Docker container. Docker containers will enhance our cloud offerings. We already have cloud offerings and we are ready to be implemented on cloud. However, Docker containers will help our customers migrate to cloud and implement their messaging warehouse into cloud regardless of the operating system, which will be much easier to implement. And the next item is that we will be revamping and rewriting our two tools that are called Archive and Restore, using a new technology and enhancing their performance to comply with the huge performance we are expecting next year. Now moving on to Q3. Q3, we are going to do the same as we do yearly. We are going to support the new syntax and we are going to support the new Alliance Access versions that are going to be released in 2023. And we are going to also be continuing our work on the multi-network support that we have explained earlier, adding more and more functionalities and capabilities to this feature, where we will be, for example, allowing archiving and restoring of messaging coming from different networks. We will be enhancing the search capabilities. We will be adding more export functionalities and adding more connectors to even expand it beyond just having an API connector, such as having an MQ connector, a file connector, etc. And in this phase, we will also do a very important thing, which is add an API on top of all the data that we have stored in our warehouse, so that any third-party system can connect to us and make use of this data. And finally, in Q3, we will be enhancing our ISO 20022 offering, where we will be enhancing our dashboards and reports to include ISO 20022 messages in a very dynamic way that will enable the user basically to get any kind of field and build any kind of report or dashboard on top of any ISO 20022 field. Now in Q4, we will enhance our GPI support to include the support of GPI API provided from Swift. We have received from many customers that they started using this API and they want to be able to see the changes related to this API reflected on our GPI tracker. And this is exactly what we will do at this phase. And next, we will be starting our exciting artificial intelligence journey, where we will be creating dashboards and reports, as I mentioned earlier, using artificial intelligence. And then we will be doing our correspondence relationship analysis that I explained earlier. And finally, we will be doing another feature to enhance the security of our users called data anonymization. In data anonymization, you will be able to configurably encrypt any kind of field in any kind of transaction, meaning I can segregate the access to another level of users who can view sensitive information in a transaction, such as customer-related information, and to other users who can't view this kind of information. They can view the other parts of the message, however, the sensitive parts of the message, they will not be able to view it unless they have privilege to do that. Now, when it comes to our competitor analysis and how we see that 2023 will make our offering in the market in comparison to our competitors better. EaseNet's messaging warehouse is very special in the features and functionalities that it provides, especially in the customization capability of reporting and dashboards, and in the ability to integrate to messaging warehouse from any kind of third party using our APIs. In 2023, we will be adding a very differentiator features, which are the multi-network support and the artificial intelligence, which we think that artificial intelligence is something that nobody else has on top of their warehouse. So it will be a very exciting feature to show to our customers. So how do we plan to approach the market when it comes to the most important features we have? Now in multi-network support, we plan to approach all of our customers, show them the new feature, see how they will benefit from it, having a centralized database, show them how they will basically minimize the efforts they do internally and unify their functionalities and their processes using this important functionality. This is the short-term target of ours, and then the long-term target is going to be to approaching new customers who are interested of having a centralized warehouse. The predictive AI dashboards, we also plan to approach certain customers at first to see and to test our capabilities on their actual data, because whenever we say artificial intelligence, it is very important to have actual real data in order to test the capabilities and see where we can expand in them. So we will be starting first with what we call pilot customers, and then we will be starting to offer this to all of our current and to all of our new customers. Next item is the correspondent relationship analysis. Again, we will be approaching all of our current customers on this, because this is very exciting news. I think that we can now analyze the correspondence and make them benefit, especially their business teams on this. And of course, the long-term target is all new customers that we need to show that we have visualization capabilities for. So by this, we have completed the messaging warehouse roadmap introduction to 2023. Please do ask any questions you have.
Thank you, Mais. It was a very informative session. We have a couple of questions in here. From Judy, she's asking, data from various sources and formats can be in the warehouse. How data are being accessed?
Yes, the access of the data at the first stages, we will provide it through the UI, through what we call free text search. Free text search is going to be enhanced in order to provide a very high performance and a very high accuracy to access any kind of data through the UI, and then we will add more and more functionalities where we will be enabling reporting on this data, exporting this data, and all of the other regular messaging warehouse capabilities.
Thank you. Well, 1 second. No, questions are okay. Okay, the presentation slides can be shared. Later on, we will be sharing with you the full roadmaps, documents, after it's being after we get it ready for the excellent use. When customers moving, this question is from Cindy. When customers moving from Swift on-prem to Alliance Cloud, how will it be supported without the ADK? This is a very good question, to be honest.
Yes, a very good question. As I mentioned, we will be building a dynamic API, and this dynamic API, another use case of it will be the connection to Alliance Cloud or any other system. So it will be a very dynamic integration. It can integrate to Alliance Cloud and help our customers connect either messaging warehouse on cloud or on-premise to their Alliance Cloud dynamically. So this is one of the benefits of our dynamic API.
I believe this API, it will be used, the model, it's not the same API. The model of this API will be used across all our solutions, because ultimately, if everybody moves to cloud, they need to still use our solution. So in screening, we will have one. In payment safe, it's already there. And for the warehouse, and I believe DDA later on, it will be the same case.
Yes.
Another question from Judy. Customers can design their own extraction of the data from the warehouse?
Yes, they can. As I mentioned, it is called analytics module. Analytics module is very flexible. You can select which tables of the database you want to start extracting data from. Then after selecting the tables, select even the data that you want to include in your reports or dashboards, and afterwards generate these reports and dashboards. If you like, we can do a demo to you on this module. It is very interesting, very user-friendly, and I think it has a big opportunity, selling opportunity for customers.
Okay, so this one is different. This is my question. It will be different from the dashboards, right? Or it's the same?
It's the same that we provide for dashboards and reports, yeah.
So it will be from the dashboard. The reason behind these questions, I believe, that some of our customers, and one of our biggest customers in APAC, they are having a lot of customized reports. So maybe ultimately they they can create their own reports out of these, which is something that can add a beneficial, cost-effective solution for them.
Definitely.
Now, a good question from Sunny. It's a long one. I don't know if we can answer it right now, or we can take it offline. On EMW, we know the current version 3.2 and 3.3. What is the high-level plan and roadmap timeline for the next version 4? That include dynamic API and AI enablement. What it takes to do the version upgrade in 23. If there is any pilot engagement model, it will be good to share. I don't know if we can share this information right now, if it's available, or we can take it offline.
We will make sure to share it as soon as it is available. So all of these functionalities that I mentioned in the roadmap will be built on top of a new version of a messaging warehouse, which we will call 4.0. And 4.0 version will not only have just business functionalities, it will basically have very advanced technology that will enable us to consider big data in the future after we release 4.0. So we expect that it will include a new database technology, a new infrastructure, a new requirements, etc. So everything will be shared with you when it is finalized and ready. And we expect version 4.0 to be officially released for customers in Q2. For sure we will be announcing this to you before Q2, and making sure that you know what is the value proposition, what are the new requirements, etc., so that you can announce it to your own customers.
Yeah, and of course we will take it with our partners to share more information about about the coming version. So Cindy, we answered already your question. I think we are done for now. No other questions available. Any more questions, you can share it with us and we will take it offline. Now the next session will be the duplicate detection session. Let's have a 5 minutes break. Now it's 11:45 in Dubai. So because every country has its own time. So it's 45 now. Let's get back to the session by 50. Yeah. So if it's 2:45, it will be 2:50, or if it's 3:45, it will be 3:50. So 5 minutes from now, and we will be back with the duplicate detection. I think it's a quick break just for people to get their coffee prepared or something, so we can leave earlier than expected from this meeting. I think most of the attendees are attending now. We are having most of our partners available. Okay. Thank you, Mais, for the session, the messaging warehouse session. There was another question about it from Nabila. She was asking when will be the end of support for the version 3. I think now it's early to share that. Once the 4.0 is available, we will be able to share the end of support and end of life for the previous version. So now, Mais, again back to you for the messaging the duplicate detection solution.
Thank you, Mohammed. Thank you. So now moving on to messaging duplicate detection. And first, I'd like to also remind you with the functionalities and do an overview of duplicate detection. The first functionality that we see is of high importance, of course, is that we do a check in real time any kind of duplicate message, whether it is incoming message or outgoing message. The importance of this is that we save financial institutions from the complexity of having to deal with duplicates that are actually processed and that are actually proceeded to the network, for example, because we've seen in some customer cases that in their duplicate detection, it is very difficult for them to be able to return the money that they have lost because of duplicate messages. And sometimes it is even impossible to return the money that they have lost, where we've seen in the news that some financial institutions reach to a loss of even more than $100 million because of duplicates and because of the complexity of these messages. So this is one of the biggest selling points and the main strength points for duplicate detection application. Now, another point that we see is very beneficial is that not only do we detect the duplicates through the server, we also provide a user interface that the user can examine the duplicate messages, compare them with each other, and then take a proper decision based on this examination. So we help even in the investigation of duplicate messages. The next important feature of duplicate detection is the notifications. It is very important that for workers who have received a duplicate message, for example, that they are notified into their mail inbox that this message you have received is duplicate. You can delay the processing of it. You can prioritize your tasks based on the fact that you know it is a duplicate message, so that you can prioritize yourself and enhance your work progress. And finally is a very important side of duplicate messages, which is related to the intentions of why duplicate messages sometimes happen. And there are two cases that are related to fraud when it comes to duplicate messages. And one is internal fraud, when a worker is trying to fraudulently create multiple messages as a duplicate to benefit to his side. This is one case. And another case is what we call payment stripping. And this is when a message is created and it is stopped by a fraud detection or a sanctioned screening application. What would some do is they strip certain fields of the message or change the values of certain fields in order to prevent it from being blocked again. However, it is still a duplicate message of the one that was blocked before. So this is another advantage that or use case of duplicate detection. Now, the value proposition of this product is again that we are Swift certified in a similar way to how we are in messaging warehouse. So we comply with all of Swift standards, and we give the customer the comfort and the trust that they can have in us. Another thing is that we automate the process of duplicate detection through the integration of the workflow of Alliance Access, which, by the way, could even enable us to integrate to their own core banking systems through the Alliance Access itself in an automatic way based on the results of duplicate detection. Other value propositions that we see is that we are capable of detecting duplicates even in archived Alliance Access messages, which is a very good differentiator for us. And this is something that the user can select and customize, and that we can detect multiple duplicates, not only 2 duplicate messages against each other. This is all very beneficial for customers to reduce that risk of having to deal with duplicates and the cost that duplicates does for customers. Now, when it comes to our configurations and the capabilities that we have in there, we have very granular configurations. Customers can select how do they want their duplicates to be detected based on their business needs, using what we call partial duplicate. And this, by the way, is ready for ISO 20022 and for MT. It is very beneficial because you can only select the certain categories first of messages that you are interested in detecting duplicates of, and then select the fields that you think are of most importance to the payment instruction or to deciding that this actually is a duplicated transaction. And of course, we are aligned all the time with the customer security program rules that are set by Swift. Now, in 2023, we will be doing a lot for the messaging duplicate detection, and there will be very differentiating features released next or this year. We will be adding business intelligence to duplicate detection. We will be adding the support of different sources also and different networks. And we will be adding artificial intelligence capabilities there. We will go through the details in the roadmap. Now, before we get into 2023, what were the deliverables of 2022 that were of importance to customers is that the first thing that we did is we enhanced the user experience through replacing an old tool that we had previously that has a UI in it into and migrating it into the application UI so that we can unify the access of the users who need duplicate detection access. And this is in specific what we called configuration manager in our UI. We also enabled dynamic handling of ISO 20022 messages. And this has a very good side to the support of RTGS messages, local messages that are coming from Alliance Access itself. It enabled us to support all kinds of networks from Alliance Access dynamically and having configurations that are different for all of these networks. For example, you can configure a message coming from CBPR Plus differently to a message coming from MEPS Plus. Also, we enabled the partial detection of ISO 20022 messages, and this is, by the way, was based on the requests we have received from you. So this is another call for you to always give us your feedback and to always suggest to us what you want to see first, or what are the features that you would like us to implement. Your feedback is always very valuable. So what we've done is we've changed the plans of the future of duplicate detection, where we provided the important functionality related to ISO 20022 and detection of partial duplicates there, and we delayed the release of the new version that we had in mind before. And then another feature when it comes to ISO 20022 is that as you know, and as I mentioned earlier, we have what we call hybrid messages, which are ISO 20022 messages that has empty messages inside them. What we did is that we made sure that these empty messages that come inside the ISO 20022 doesn't affect the detection of duplicates throughout last year. Now moving on to the exciting roadmap of 2023, and I will be here stating our artificial intelligence strategy and our product strategy. And the first thing I would like to mention is how we plan to detect duplicates in multiple networks. We will try as much as possible to open duplicate detection to be able to detect duplicates of multiple networks that are not passing by alliance access. We will be providing the basic functionality, which is a full duplicate check for all networks by default, and we will be providing the partial duplicate checks for the networks that we receive requests on based on customer demands, and for the networks that we see are of most importance globally. The next thing is that whether it is for RTGS or Swift or any kind of network that we will detect duplicates for, we want to be able to integrate to different sources other than alliance access. And this is again a very important point for what you mentioned earlier, alliance cloud. So we will be providing an API and also an MQ connector that will enable us to detect duplicates on third-party systems other than alliance access, and also communicate with this system, return the results, and change the workflow of the message in the other systems. And then, of course, again, we are having instant payments. We are dealing with a very high straight-through processing demands that increases the need that we have a higher performance. And this is why we are going to be rebuilding message and duplicate detection from scratch, adding advanced technologies, adding new requirements, adding a new even user interface that you will be dealing with, so that you have a fast access, a fast detection, and our customers do not get delayed because of adding duplicate detection functionalities on top of their workflow. The next good feature that we have is business intelligence, where we will be creating reports and dashboards inside messaging duplicate detection that are related to the process of duplicate detection itself. And finally, we are going to make the detection of duplicates smarter. As most of you know, currently, the way that we detect duplicates is that we need to have an exact match between the fields that we are comparing. For example, if I am writing an address in different ways, changing A to E, or if I'm writing names in different ways, changing certain characters, however, after all, they are the same address, the same name. We don't currently know that these are duplicates. However, what we will do in 2023 is be able to understand the text that is written using our natural language, and be able to process it in order to know if these texts indicate the same value, even if they are written differently. This will be a huge differentiator for our application because it will make it basically smarter, and it will reduce the possibility of having false negatives. Now, the top 3 features that we have on the roadmap are, as I mentioned, opening the duplicate detection using MQ and API connectors, the artificial intelligence of detection duplicates of similar texts, and finally the multi-network support, because when it comes to multi-networks and especially RTGS or local networks, we know that duplicates happen there even more than what they happen in CPPR+, so this will be a great feature to add. Now the roadmap of 2023. In Q1, we are aiming to release a new version of the product, which we call version 5.0. This version has very enhanced technology. We will be rebuilding the whole detection engine using what you may heard of before, Kafka technology. This will enhance the performance of our detection of duplicates. This will enhance the communication between whether alliance access or different sources and with our application and with our database and application UI. Also, we will be adding many small features. They might be considered, however, very important features by basically rebuilding all of the UI of the application. First thing that we will do, we will add user access management with high level of privilege separation, segregation, and security. The second thing that we will do is we will rebuild the UI that you are used to, which you can see messages in that are duplicate. We will enhance it, add search functionality to it. We will even enhance the view of duplicate messages, where we will be comparing which fields exactly are duplicate of the message and highlighting them on the UI of the user. This will help them make better decisions, know why exactly were these messages detected as duplicate. So we will be comparing, we will be searching, we will be adding user management and segregating the users from alliance access. We will also add other functionalities such as 4 eyes or even more, so that the actions that are taken on the duplicate messages are secured even more and are taken by more than one operator in order to make sure nothing is manipulated and every action is more secure. There are many other features that will be added on the UI that we will be announcing to you in details, and we will be giving you beforehand the release of this new version. And the other important thing that this new version will include is the new connectors, MQ and API connectors, for the case that you mentioned of having to integrate, for example, to Alliance Cloud or others. Now in Q2, we will be enhancing the integrity of our database. And this is because we are going to change the way we deal with messages, where we plan to store all messages, whether they are configured in duplicate detection or not, because we want to enable the user to flexibly change any kind of configuration without having to affect the actual process of duplicate detection. So that is why we will be storing everything. And when we store everything, we have more sensitive data, so we need to make sure that the integrity of this data is saved at this stage. The next item is where we are going to use natural language processing, NLP or AI, to detect similar texts that do not look alike, however, they are of the same value. And the next item that we are going to add also is to handle the hybrid messages. We think that since we have hybrid messages, ISO 20022 messages with empty inside them, this empty inside them that comes within the message needs to be compared with other originally or primary empty formats to enhance our detection of duplicates even more. This way, in a sense, you will be comparing ISO 20022 to the empty in case they were translated or hybrid. In Q3, again, we will be supporting the new syntax and the new Alliance Access versions. And next, we will be starting with the multi-network support. This is where we will be detecting duplicates of other networks other than Swift and other than what comes through Alliance Access. And next, we will add a new connector, which is the file connector, to even enable us to connect to more sources. And in Q4, we plan to add the support of file act messages, because file act messages are important also. They contain sometimes batches of messages that need to be detected separately. So we will be enhancing this in Q4. And next, we will be building the business intelligence and the reports and dashboards that are related to duplicate detection. These dashboards will display analytics on how many messages were false positives, how many messages were accepted or rejected or modified by the user. Of course, this will be per configuration and per BIC or transaction type, etc. The next item is another important item, which we call multi-BIC configuration. As you know, currently, the configurations of duplicate detection allows the user to use the BIC once only in the configuration. However, in the future, we will be enabling the user to add the same BIC into multiple configurations. This will benefit them in having an OR operation between the configurations. So if one configuration is not actually detecting the message as duplicate, I can check another one and see if it actually is detected as duplicate. It will decrease the number of false negatives, and it will increase the number of detections that we have and make it even more accurate. Now, when it comes to the competitor analysis, we think that next year will be a very strong year for message and duplicate detection, because all of the features that we are adding into 2023 are differentiators. No other competitors have it, such as the MQ or API connectors. The natural language processing is very strong and a very smart feature that no one else has it. And also we will add the multi-network support and dashboards, which will increase the importance of our offering. Now, how do we plan to approach customers? We plan to approach customers for MQ and API connectors in the sense of two sides. First, if they would like to perform the duplicate detection operations on another system other than Alliance Access, for example, a payment hub or Alliance Cloud or etc. And the second thing is through the migration to cloud and the migration to Alliance Cloud. This will be a very good selling point for MQ and API connectors. Next is the natural language processing. This is very exciting. It will matter for current customers and it will matter to new customers. So we will be making sure that we mention it all the time for all customers. And the next item is the multi-network support, and this of course will be based on demand. However, we should always approach our current customers to know if they have other networks that are not being monitored by duplicate detection that we need to add to our application. Thank you, everyone. By this, we have finished the message and duplicate detection. Please do ask any question you want.
Thank you, nice. I think we have a couple of questions. One, I have one an offline, so we will take it later. This question is from Ahmed. Does DDA use? Can we use the DDA for non-Swift messages? For instance, proprietary format from different network, different sources. So it's the multi-network thing, as mentioned in the roadmap, that it will be covered within this year to cover the multi-network.
Yes, but currently we need to be sure that we understand that any kind of multi-network that comes through Alliance Access itself is already supported in a DDA now in the version that we have 4.0. However, for multi-networks that don't pass by Alliance Access, this is what we will be enhancing in 2023.
Thank you. And is the 4 eyes feature available in version 5.0? If customers want to use the 4 eyes feature, that means they have to upgrade?
Yes, they have to upgrade to 5.0. Yes.
Okay. I have an offline question from Cindy before she leaves. She's flying, that's why she left. She asked me about the expected date to release the 5.0.
Yes, we expect 5.0, Cindy, to be released end of Q1. Whenever we have certain dates and great assurance of this, we will be sending you notifications of the scope, of the new requirements, etc. And travel safe.
Another question on what will be the benefits from using the MQ and API connectors in the DDA?
Yes. As I mentioned, the first benefit is customers are moving to cloud, such as Alliance Cloud. We will be able to integrate to it regardless of the ADK. So we will no longer be dependent on the ADK itself in case it wasn't used in the future or other systems are needed to be integrated. This is one. The second thing is that we have received requests from customers that they either want to be able to configure messages differently based on the source that the message is coming from. Now, through the connection of API and MQ, you will be differentiating the source of the message and configuring it differently. This is the first item. The second item is that also we have seen customers who do not like to use Alliance Access for their duplicate detection. So they don't want to integrate it there. They want to integrate it to another back office application, such as Payment Safe or another payment hub. We can do that through the connection of API and MQ.
Thank you. One last question that that we have. How will multi-big configuration add elasticity to the duplicate detection?
Yes. Having or being able to configure the same BIC and adding it into multiple configurations will enable us to detect duplicates in a more of an accurate way. For example, if I select a certain transaction, a payment transaction, and I select the fields ordering customer and beneficiary customer in the first configuration, this is one way that I will be able to detect duplicates. In another configuration, I can customize it to, for example, include also the reference field of the message so that it is detected either way, either using either configuration that you have. So it will increase the flexibility of the application.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mais. I think these are all the questions that we have for today. Thank you for both sessions on the messaging warehouse and the DDA. As we can see, the products are changing, and we will have exciting year ahead of us in both products. Now we will go to the last session that we have with Afif again. With the universal translator. Afif.
Yeah, thank you, Muhammad. Actually, the universal translator, which is a new offering from ESNet, which is also come in low code or no code offering from ESNet. The universal translator, as usual, our customers, even partners, when say translators, mean for them that it is a payment safe. And in some scenarios, banks needs, they believe, I wanted to have the translation functionality out of payment safe, and the banks have their own rules for doing that translation. They only need a tool to implement these rules and deploy it and adapt it within their, let's say, core banking system, middleware, or any software they have it in the bank infrastructure to implement the translation rules without having a complete product from Eastness like what you have in Payment Safe. At the same time, banks, they are looking, or Eastness internally, we are looking to adapt the translation services within other products, definitely without having the complete Payment Safe setup as part of our offering. So for this, we design and work to deliver last year the Universal Translator, where the bank can deliver the service, or Eastness can deliver this translation service using this tool and without having the complete implementation for any other Eastness products to be included in the offering. So this translation rule, or universal translation, bank can use it to implement, as I mentioned, to develop their own libraries. If it is straightforward implementation for these mapping rules, or a complex one, without having the needs for, let's say, any technical background. It is a very user-friendly interface with very advanced techniques for implementing the mapping with more advanced irregular or regular expression, or what we call expression builder within the solution. In addition to the capability to include also custom code to be implemented within through the Universal Translator. This platform actually, as Universal Translator, is completely independent from Payment Safe. So it is a cross-platform solution. We can deploy it in Windows and Linux both, and have a seamless integration with other applications using a RESTful API integration. So they can easily initiate the translation request and receive with the message that need to be translated, and receive the translation output as an output for these APIs. And APIs, it's a real-time synchronous implementation you have it. By having this, banks can, by having this exercise and implementation for the translation, Universal Translator, they can, as I mentioned before, develop their own mapping rules and deploy it, execute it using only the Universal Translator. No other products needed for this kind of implementation. The only thing that need to be as a part of the deliverables from our side is to give the bank a training for this tool, how to use it, and then they will and explain the APIs we provide as part of the Universal Translator. Then the bank, they can use it in different implementations and include the translator in any systems to apply that, or to have the translation functionality. The Universal Translator actually come in two components, major components. The first one, which is the mapping designer, similar like what we have in Payment Safe, where the user, but it's more advanced here. So user here will do import for the message definition as schema or XSDs, and starting building the message libraries. Also, they can define the mapping libraries they needed. And if they have already mapping definitions used or developed, they can import it within the target mapping library. At the same time, to make the implementation for mapping rules more reusable, users can define their own functions, let's say local functions or global functions, so they can use it many times without having the need to repeat the functions needed for translation. By having this, they can have their own function libraries within Universal Translator and execute them as part of the API translation request. And also to make their life easier for the user, we have the advanced mapping editor, and we have the advanced expression builder. So they can, by dragging and drop the fields and the functions they would like to have, they can use these functionalities actually to build a very complex regular translation rules and use it within the mapping libraries. And definitely, because as you know, all the mapping rules usually need to be exchanged out of the organization or with people they don't have access to that universal translator. User can export the mapping rules that are already defined using universal translator in Excel format and share it by email or archive it out of the tool. So it will be as a reference for them in case they need to review it or to do let's say evaluation for these mapping rules, then apply the changes directly on the universal translator for this. And after we complete this mapping exercise, and before releasing it to other applications, users have the capability to simulate these translation rules on the target message, and identify if there is any errors, and try to simulate actually all the scenarios that can be used on production in the universal translator, which means that it will enhance the deliverables and ensure that there is no exceptions. All scenarios that banks looking to have by universal translation or for the translation already done. And if there is any errors, the universal translator will identify them to user and help the user what exactly the error and what exactly need to be used in which field to do the correction, and then retest again with valid values and valid structure to have a valid translation library and rules for target message. And after completing this exercise, then user can have two options for these valid translation libraries we have it. They can export it out of the translator, universal translator, as XSLT, which is a technology used for translation usually, to deploy it in payment safe as part of the workflow. It will work, or in any other application that support XSLT technology. The other options that we have it is to release and deploy the mapping rules that used by Universal Translator or developed by Universal Translator to be deployed on the transformer, which is come with the same package, which is the runtime engine used to execute these translation rules. and expose the functionality to other applications in RESTful API request. So once it's deployed and the bank do the integration with the transformer, the runtime engine, by implementing the APIs, then we'll have a real-time functionality for the translation, and they can initiate a request for the translation and receive a response and proceed at their end as their expectation. This functionality with the transformer actually is mostly common now techniques used for translation and for integration actually. So we expect that easily will be adapted within by other application, even with EastNets, the same let's say approach we will follow, and the banks they can use the same with any solution they have at their end. So just I will show you what exactly the owners in the bank that would like to have it to implement this. The technical team in the bank and the integration team, they can use it, especially when they have their advanced rules that need to be used. For high level or for straight implementation that not contains a complex mapping rules, business analyst or a user who is owner of the business can do an implementation for these rules and then can get the help from integration team or technical team to deploy it so they can test it on their target solutions easily, which actually with this process will reduce the time for doing the translation or the integration. At the same time, the cost for, let's say, do the change actually in the bank. So they can do it without having the needs to get back to EastNets and develop the translation rules, unless that they don't have, let's say, the technical capabilities, or they don't have as an example, they have an advanced mapping rules. They are not capable with the existing resources to do this implementation. Then we will provide a professional service to do the implementation for the translation on behalf of the bank and deliver it to them so they can import these translation rules at Universal Translator in the bank. As I mentioned before, with Universal Translator, we're providing an expression builder. This expression builder actually make the life easier for the user, as I mentioned, to develop a very complex expression for mapping or for logical expression, the Boolean one that come with a true false that use within a condition within the mapping. There is a huge number of predefined functions available within a Universal Translator and expression builder. User only need to select this predefined function, drag it within the expression, and then start filling the fields or the parameters of this expression by also dragging from the target or from the source field. They start targeting the fields directly to as a parameter to the functions, and they can use more than one predefined functions within the expression. Let's say they can use concat function with substring, with count functions together within the same expression to have one mapping rules or to have one Boolean expression to be used within the mapping rules. And at the same time, while the user is building the expression for the translation or for the Boolean expression, the tool itself will validate if this expression is valid or it contains error, and it will show you the errors exactly, the location of the errors within the expression if it is exists within the tool. This, by having the expression builder, as I mentioned, it will make the life easier for the user the user that would like to implement any translation rules. At the same time, as I mentioned previously, to make reusability for functions defined within the library, user can define custom functions. So they develop it one time, and they start reusing these functions within the mapping definition related to any of these messages already used within this translator. And these functions can be defined locally. So only these the mapping rules where the function is defined, it will be the scope for these functions, or it will be globally or global functions, which means all the mapping definitions within the universal translator will have access to these functions and reuse it again. So the user can decide if for the functions, if they would like to have it globally or locally on the tool, as we mentioned. These functions use C# code. They can use the C# code to build, as you see here in the screenshot, to develop any custom functions they needed within the universal translation. In addition, as I mentioned, to external functions or custom functions, there is a huge number of predefined functions used within the tool. Users can use these custom functions as part of expression builder, if it is predefined or custom, to complete their expression. The tool itself also, it will show you per each functions defined within the already defined in the universal translator, what exactly the parameters, number of parameters used, and the type of each parameters that need to pass to this functions. So the universal translator and the transformer will execute it successfully without any exception. As we mentioned, there is a message definition libraries, and within the message definition libraries, per each definition, user have a huge number of, or they have many functions. They can use it and apply it on these predefined function. They can edit existing one. They can clone existing mapping and rename it. And also they can override an existing function and extend it to a new logic without impacting the existing one, and will be the two messaging definition will be linked together. And the most important functionality, I believe, here is the testing. User can test any mapping definition already defined within the universal translator by applying the inputs to this mapping definition, and the tool will simulate and execute the translation rules and show the output to the user immediately once he click on the test button. Also, there is any other functions like exports as XSLT, as we mentioned, or as Excel for documentation, or release them to deploy it on the transformer, which is part of the universal translator, and make it ready for other application to execute it. In addition to delete and add the other custom functions, local functions belong to this mapping definition. All these functions actually or actions can be applied on the message definition and make, let's say, the translation testing and extend that existing libraries to another new ones that can be reused within the universal translator and the transformer. As you see here from our universal translator and previously with Payment Safe Designer, we are focusing here in a new offering with low code or no code implementation for many of functions that previously EastNets use the development to deliver this function. Now, as a configuration, as we see it in the previous slides, banks can deliver the translation functionality with minimum cost and without having the need to have a development or expert resources to implement this, or to go to other parties outside of the organization to implement this translation. At the same time, because we make sure that the functions we have it in the translation, the universal translator, or in our translation functions is easy to be used. So it lets the financial institution easy to be ready to the market for any initiatives they would like for integrations or for implementation. Especially when we have, let's say, deadlines with regulators for implementation. And definitely with low code or no code offering, it will add another flexibility and scalability value from our solution. And as you see together with testing all libraries we have it within the tool before going to deploying it on the what we call it on the production or in the testing environment, we ensure that high quality will be provided by financial institution for any integration or translation functionality. I would like to thank you for attending today's session with us for payments, and I'm open for any questions. And the mic with you here, Mohammed.
Yeah, thank you so much, Afif, and thank you for this introduction on the universal translator. I think it's a good opportunity that we need to share more information about this with our partners. So maybe we can have a dedicated session for our partners to discuss this. Let me check the questions if we have any. Okay, since both Payment Safe Designer and Universal Translator provide low value offering and mapping, what are the use cases for both offering between, or what's the differentiator between the Universal Translator and the Payment Safe Designer?
Yeah, this is a good question actually. For Payment Safe Designer, as we mentioned, as a prerequisite for this low code offering is we need a Payment Safe core license. So the bank should have a Payment Safe license, then they can use and have another license for Payment Safe Designer. Without having the Payment Safe Designer, Payment Safe, the bank cannot have the Payment Safe Designer license. While in a Universal Translator, it's fully independent. The customer need only to have a license for Universal Translator to do the implementation for Universal, to do the implementation for any translation functionality. Now, with Payment Safe Designer, as I mentioned, or with Universal Translator, sorry, there is a huge number of functions and predefined and already very advanced tools for implementing the translator, more than what we have for Universal Translator, for the Payment Safe Designer. I believe only these major differentiator for Payment Safe Designer and for Universal Translator. Another thing that the output come from the both tools or from the both offering. For the designer, it must be only run on Payment Safe. You cannot use the output generated from Payment Safe Designer out of the Payment Safe. So the Payment Safe engine is the only engine used for execution. But as we described before, for Universal Translator, the output can be used within Payment Safe. The output can be used with any application support API technology by initiate transition request and receive the output. This is the main differentiator between the two offering we have it for the low code and no code offering.
Yes. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Afif, and thank you, Maisa as well, Tariq, for today's session. Thank you, everyone, all our partners who attended these calls. I think it was good webinars, sets of webinars. We had some engagements from our partners about some products that we don't have, I would say, a good presence in the market. A lot of products that we are trying to focus on to have more, I would say, references in the region. We are talking about the AML, KYC, the payment guard, and the payment safe. These we don't have a lot of customers in there. These solutions has been evolving a lot and more and more. And as you can see, most of our solutions are have been recognized as market leaders and category leaders in different, I would say, organizations, and like Quadrant, one of them. So we believe we have a good set of products that we can go to market that can benefit both companies to work with. Please let us know what is your main, I would say, approach for the coming year based on the requirements in each country, which products that you believe that it will be the main focus for you in the coming year. So we can go to market together. We can help you throughout the process, and we can share with you more information about this and help you to get more details from the regulators. Thank you so much. It has been wonderful 2 days. Yeah,
Mohammed, if I may add, if I may add to this, yeah, excellent.
I want to pass it to you, Dennis, to add whatever that you.
I think before I forget, Mohammed, I think you brought up an excellent point. I just wanted to add to this a little bit. So I think yesterday when we talked about our risk and compliance solutions, for all of them, we mentioned, a lot of recognition that they received in the industry, with the research where we are in the quadrants. So we obviously sharing this with you. Our marketing is doing their absolute best, and I think they're doing a fantastic job promoting this in the market. But I would really like you to pass on this message to your customers and to our customers, to our joint customers. I think that is a very important news. And as you can imagine, we have put a lot of work into this. So I think please, extend marketing support, so to speak, and help us communicate this message. And another one, I totally agree with Mohammed. I think we have a very exciting year ahead of us. I think there's quite a few things that we need to achieve. I think we need, as I mentioned yesterday in the introduction session, I really think that we need to focus on increasing the existing customer satisfaction naturally, but also growing new business and attracting new customers. And hopefully in the course of 2 days, we were able to demonstrate you that the solutions we have, both on the payment side and the compliance side, they're really very, very well fit for the market. They're very well fit for purpose. I want to ensure you that our sales organization is obviously much bigger than just the channels group that we represent, and we're having a lot of engagements with customers in other regions directly, and we want to translate those successes that we're having into working with you and help us grow revenue together. And the third point, after which I will end and hand it over to Mohammed to say goodbye, I think, and we talked about it yesterday, and as you can see in the course of the presentations, and you know this from before as well, our products are quite complex, and there's quite a lot of change happening to it on a constant basis that we try to keep you up to speed with and up to date with webinars like this. But it's very important for us to have discussions and to make sure that you and your teams are on track with training, certification, and other things that Reem talked about yesterday in her presentation on the training, certification, and academy. And in the next few weeks, Mohammed and I will be reaching out to all the partners to discuss this. So we need to make sure that the knowledge transfer is there, that you have all up-to-speed trainings, that you have all up-to-speed documentation. Of course, we will share the outcome of this as part of that exercise as well. But this is going to be one of our big focuses for in Q1 to set up this road to success in the rest of the year. So that's it from my side. Thanks again for participating. I thought it was fantastic 2 days. Thank you for your attention. Mohammed, I think you're on mute.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, sorry. Thank you, Dennis. On top of that, I just wanted to add a couple of things that within this year we will be more engaging. We want to share as much information about our products as possible. We will be more engaging in terms of also enhancing our level of support as well, because this is something that we are working on. And as you saw, some of our roadmaps, we are focusing on enhancing the current products to a level that we provide better support in the coming year. So overall, the company is evolving. With the help of you, of course, we can reach out to customers to translate this message to them and to see that of products, not only in compliance that we are all certified, but also in payments. If you see, all our products are labeled as add-ons, and some of them are the only add-ons available in Swift and the Swift website, like the DDA, for example. It's the only accepted or certified duplicate detection solution by Swift on their website. So this is where we can have an added value to our customers. We can help our customers. If you want us to participate with you with some roadshows, for example, to your customers to reflect these messages, to share with them more information about our products, we will be more than happy to assist you on that. So please, whatever solution that you feel that it will be that has an opportunity in the market and coverage, please let us know so we can work together on a go-to-market approach to get more revenues for you and us at the same time. Thank you again. Thank you so much for the last 2 days. It was a very good, engaging webinars, and looking forward to speak to you all soon. And yeah, that's it. That's a wrap up, I would say. Thank you everybody who participated in this, in our product team, and of course our marketing team, and Dennis for you as well.
Cheers. Thank you very much. Have a good evening, everybody. Bye.